All right, so this is graphing sine and cosine functions. And what we are going to talk about is how those measures of the angles give us spots or points on the graph, and then go ahead and connect them. The sine function, they both are basically like waves. All right, there's a sine wave that you see all over all sorts of different places, whether it's heartbeat, music, and some of those different scenarios. Okay, so let's make a table of values. So we're going to have the angle, and we're going to have the sine value. So this again is your x, this is your y. Again, so let's just do a quick little refresher of what we did in the previous video. The x value is 1, the y value is 0. Then we have 0, 1, and then we have negative 1, 0. And we have 0, negative 1. Okay, so again, we have the cosine values and the sine value. And let's mark up this coordinate plane with also the radians. So this is 0, or it is 2 pi. Pi over 2, this is pi. This is 3 pi over 2, and then around to the 2 pi. And if we wanted to put those in degrees, we could, but pretty much when you're graphing, they primarily are in radians. So over here for our x values are going to be in terms of radians. So we're going to talk about 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. So what we're going to have is this. Let me show you what this graph is going to be. Our starting graph is going to be. And we're going to have pi over 2. These are the intervals. Pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. All right, and then we're going to have up to 1 because of our unit circle, and down to negative 1. So when you're looking at that unit circle, okay, again, we're looking at the output, the y values. So when we're starting at 0 for the input here, our y value is 0. When we're at pi over 2, our y value is 1. When we are at pi, we are back to 0. When we are at 3 pi over 2, the y value is negative 1, and 2 pi goes back to 0. So we're going to plot those points on this graph. Now, again, this is a special graph as far as what we are used to seeing before. Okay, so we're at 0, 0, pi over 2, 1, pi 0, 3 pi over 2 is at our negative 1, and 2 pi is at 0. So what you do is connect these, and this is the sine graph. Okay, let's go to the next page and do cosine. All right, so now we're going to do the graph of the cosine function. So, again, the cosine are the x values. So let's just draw that unit circle again so we can remember what those values are. And be sure to realize the unit circle is a radius of 1. And that's what we have at these points. And we have 0, negative 1. So again, the cosine is the input, is that x value. So let's go ahead and write out those values. And again, this is theta, the angle. So what we have at 0 this time, you guys, the cosine value is 1. Then we go to pi over 2, and the cosine value is 0. Remember, we're looking at that x value. When we go to pi, it is negative 1. And when we go to 3 pi over 2, it is 0. And back to 2 pi, it is 1. Now, let me just do a quick refresher on the unit circle where those are, right? These are our 90 degrees. So 0, pi over 2, pi, and 3 pi over 2. And again, this can also be 2 pi. All right, so those are the values, the x values, and now we're just going to graph those. And what you're going to notice is for the cosine function, at 0, it starts up here at 1. And we're going to do these little increments of pi over 2, because that's how we moved around the unit circle. So if you notice here, at 0, it was 1. At pi over 2, it went down to 0. Pi, it is at -1. 3 pi over 2 is back at 0. And 2 pi is back at 1. So our cosine curve goes something like this. And again, that cosine graph, those waves just keep repeating themselves. Okay, the next video is going to have some parts of these functions that get a little bit more. It's like transformations in different parts of the graph. So be sure and watch the next one. See you next time.